15 years ago, the hot hatch market was super competitive, and two of the very best were the Volkswagen Golf Mark V GTI and the Renault Megane RS250. But that was when they were new. Now, in mid-2024, with over 100,000 miles on these cars, we have a lightly modified Golf GTI Edition30 pitched up against OEM spec standard Megane RS250 Cup. And I want to find out, in this head-to-head, which today, in 2024, is the ultimate hot hatch. It's Rich here with another Fast and Fun. These cars are closely matched in spec and also in value. The bottom of the market for either of these is about 5,000 for the highest mileage, leggiest examples. But get a good, well cared for one, low mileage example, you could be looking at 10,000 to get into one of these. And on paper, they're very, very similar. Both use 2-litre turbocharged engines. The Megane in base format delivers 250 horsepower compared to the Edition30's 230. The ace that this Edition30's got is it's had a remap and a few subtle tweaks of the engine so it now produces closer to 290 brake horsepower. That's a 40 brake horsepower deficit that the Megane is going to have to make up somewhere. Inside, there's also subtle differences. Although they're wrapped both in 3-door hatchbacks, the Megane goes with a traditional 6-speed manual gearbox, whereas this Edition30 uses the fabulous twin-clutch 6-speed DSG gearbox. On the wheels, Megane rides on larger 19-inch alloys, this particular example running on Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's, whereas the Edition30 uses BBS alloys, slightly lower at 18 inches and wrapped in Goodyear Eagle F1 asymmetric 6s. And if we take a look inside both cars, you'll see some stark differences too. If we take a look at the Megane, it's dominated this one with the yellow dot Recaro seats, that 6-speed manual gearbox, and yes, it's largely plastic, black, French, and well, average at best, only lifted by those Recaro seats. The Golf goes more of a classic look with its half tartan cloth and leather seats with that golf ball effect DSG lever. And then it just looks a little bit of more of a premium, something that you'd expect Volkswagen to deliver rather than the French Renault. And from the rear of the car, the Megane with its rounded backside, a little bit quirky looking, and that central exhaust on this car unmodified and as it left the factory. Whereas the Mark V Golf GTI has the more traditional straight backed look from the mid 2000s, and this one modified with a catback exhaust with 2 protruding exhausts and coming out with quite a bassy rumble, which we'll hear when we take it out on the road. Tinted rear and back windscreens as well. And from the front, both the Volkswagen and the Renault wear their badges with pride. The Golf, with its subtle Edition30, showing you that this is a step above the standard GTI, specifically because of that KN04 turbocharger. But it stays traditional, with the Golf having the honeycomb front grille. Renault, a little bit different, reaching back with the front bumper, looking at the black F1 style bumper and the teardrop headlights, but the subtle RS badge. Looks, aesthetics, inside and out, very subjective, and I'll leave you to make up your mind. But for me, the fundamental of a hot hatch, as well as being practicable, it's got to be fun on the open B road. And that's where we need to go next. Let's take out the Edition30. So early impressions in the Edition30. Well, it's a nice place to be. The seats don't only look good in this tartan cloth and leather clad 50/50 really, they get a nice balance. They're nice and soft and feel supremely comfortable, but they also feel like they're hugging the torso quite nicely. The dash, typical Germanic build. There's very few squeaks and rattles, and well, that's mostly because all I can hear is induction noise and an exhaust noise from the back of the car. But you're sat low, the dash is up right where you want it. It's a simple, plain layout, just what you want in a hot hatch. The big issue the Edition30 this one's got is not being a manual. You see, back in the 15 years ago, more than 95% would have been manual. Nowadays, it's more accepted. You get sports cars, performance cars, hot hatches, hyper hatches, super hatches, whatever you want to call them. Many now are some form of Tiptronic, whatever that gearbox is. But in this day, back in, well, this is a 2007, so 3 years older than the Megane, it was rare. But I have to say, for its period in 2007, the DSG, if you're going to have a gearbox, the DSG is the one to have. It beat the BMW SMG, it beat the Porsche Tiptronic, a whole host of other cars massively let down with single clutch systems. This was the first one that really impressed, and it does today, absolutely. It does the up changes, really lowering the revs though, so you give it medium acceleration, and before you know it, it's up to 4th, 5th, 6th, really, really quickly. So I've just slowed the car right down now, 20 miles an hour. I'm still in automatic, so I'm just going to kick down and see how the car picks up. Sort of 3/4, yeah, bit load of boost, bang, bang, that really throbby, bassy drum, and changing gear quite low down as well. So there's absolutely a pregnant pause there in automatic, which is probably, for the period, what you sort of expect. And there's that really deep rumble, bassy, resonating rumble that almost echoes right under the chassis, and you can feel it. That's really caused by that exhaust and the wastegate and dump valve. You can hear the psh, psh when you come off the accelerator. One of the mods that the previous owner did to this car was for S3 brakes, because he felt there just wasn't quite enough bite and feel in the originals. And we're going to come out of this 30 zone in a minute, still staying in auto, and I'm just going to try to kick it down now and go sort of 90% throttle here and see how quick this car sort of picks up now in automatic mode. So you feel it kick down. Oh, coming on boost. Woo! Just take a bit of speed off there. God, it builds speed quickly. Just feel that little bit of overrun and then bubbling and popping, and oh, just the induction. You can feel that turbocharger spinning up. This is seriously quick. In a straight line, seriously quick. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slide across the gear lever. If you just knock it to the side, to the left, you go into manual now. So, and you're using the flappy paddles. This owner's put on bigger flappy paddles because before it was very small. So if I just knock it down a couple of gears, 3rd gear, say the DSG is 6-speed as well. So I'm just staying in 3rd gear here, and we'll see what it's like. Drop into 2nd gear now, just about 25 miles an hour. And it's a really tested bit of road this, so go on the brakes. Oh my word, this is a flying machine. fairly bumpy road here, little tight twisty left here, knocks it down the gear, turning, it's good. It's more compliant, feels much more compliant than the Megane. You don't feel the bumps. Rides the road actually better. And quite any sort of straight just caught up to a car, and this thing is putting out some serious power. The gear changes on the upshift are instant, so much quicker than you could ever hope to. Downshifts, just a whoosh. And this road's quite badly potholed in places, and you wouldn't know it. It's really settled and composed. It's softer than the Megane for sure. It's probably not as focused, as hard-edged as the Megane, but in many ways it's actually better suited to these B roads. The brakes are supremely better there, just dropped it down one. The pull from the engine, it pulls from really low down in the revs. That sort of 3,000, it's on major boost and it's just relentless. Exhaust rumble, induction and exhaust, you've got best of both worlds here. But any straight, I'm certainly glad he's got the S3 brakes on this. Oh, a little bit of a compression there, just felt the car bottom out there. This is running on PBS Pro Race pads, which are working very, very well. That engine is packing some serious punch. Delivers real strong power from as little as 2,000 revs all the way up to about 6,000 before it starts tailing off towards the red line. Power that I know for a fact the Megane's not going to be able to live with. The noise from it, you can hear the turbo spinning up, you can hear there is turbo lag there for sure, and more distinctive I think in this. So big turbo lag, but when it comes on boost, it is one hell of a adrenaline rush. And then when it's made to the DSG, in automatic, it's just a little bit clumsy. It's showing the old school tech of this 2007 year model. And kick down can be a bit slow and ponderous, and it's just not intuitive enough. It seems to want to up gear all the time, really down at low revs. But shift it across into manual, and suddenly you get the benefit then of the super fast up and down shifts through the manual gearbox, and suddenly you can make some pretty rapid progress. And the ride quality, riding on 18 inches compared to the 19s of the Megane, but the softer setup, the slightly more road-based setup of this Edition30, it just feels a better, more controlled car. It has more composure. I fear that the Megane, with a harsher, more cup and track orientated setup, can be a little bit knocked off by when the road gets really rough. But what we need to do is get back, get in the Megane and take it on the same loop. So jumping out of the Edition30 straight into the Megane, and it's the first time you really notice the stark difference in the cabin and the quality of the cabin. Whereas the Golf has weared really, really well, looks classy, and still is a better looking cabin than the rather cheap looking, plasticky looking, odd at times Megane. Simple things like the dials, for example. The dials aren't sort of perpendicular to your view, they're sort of tilted back, and the ridiculously large airbag in the centre of the Renault steering wheel, it's just, why has it got to be that big when other manufacturers have managed to do it much, much smaller? There's a few little touches that Renault have done. The RS monitor that was available for most models as a costed option, gives you more intel into G meters and quarter miles and lap times and certain pressures and temperatures as well. So that I've used at times, especially on track. But largely, the only thing that lifts this cabin is the yellow dot Recaro seats. They're great, not the best, not the easiest to get in and out, and they do wear, as you can see on my side bolsters. But once you're in, they're supremely comfortable and they hug you much better than the Golfs. The Edition 30 is more sort of intermediary supportive seat, where it goes with half comfort and half sport. The other obvious difference is the gearbox. So suddenly you've got the third clutch pedal and the 6-speed manual. The Megane's isn't the best gearbox in the world. It's not the quickest, it's not the fastest, it's not the slickest at all. But you still, for me, at the heart of a hot hatch has to be a great gearbox. And I'm just not sure that a DSG can carry it for me. And that's definitely a black mark against the Edition 30. With the standard exhaust on the Megane, the next thing you notice is in regard to noise. Oh, I should say, lack of noise. With the standard exhaust, it's very quiet, it's very muted. It doesn't really tell you what's going on at all. You can hear tyre and wind noise over the actual exhaust noise. Very, very different to the Edition 30 with its modified exhaust. Easy fix if you want more noise. But again, you've got to make sure you get that balance right. Unless you go with a switchable valved exhaust, the negative to the Edition 30 is it is very much in your ear all the time. And the risk there is on the longer journeys, on the motorways, on the A roads, it can become a little bit too drony, whereas that's the benefit. But yet on that spirited B road where you want some noise, the Edition 30's got it, and the Megane hasn't. So second gear here, 20 miles an hour, and accelerate hard. 3, 4, 5, 6, rev buzzer into third, and then you're into some serious speed there. Just shade a bit of that off. It's really quick. It's hot hatch quick from the period. It's how I expect a hot hatch to accelerate. It's not going to pin you back incredibly, but it's absolutely quick enough. But it's nowhere near where that modified Edition 30 is. Not at all. Both in terms of the power from that engine and the gearbox, you'll never change as quick as a twin clutch automated gearbox. But again, it's not necessarily how quick you get there, but it's how you get there. It's the fun that you have there. It's the enjoyment of getting there. And for as good as the Edition 30 is with regard to steering, and it feels accurate and it feels tight and it feels controlled, when you get in the Megane, there is a step change again. Whereas the Megane feels like it is on fire. It is absolutely everything. Many cars suffer from the dead ahead position, just a little bit of numbness, perhaps very critically of the Mark V and the Edition 30, not of the Megane at all. And the steering feel, you know exactly what your front wheels are doing, how much grip there is, how much traction there is. And as good as the Mark V is, as good as that Edition 30 is, it is not the same as the Megane. Best analogy I can think of is, it's as though the Edition 30 is a knife that you're eating your dinner with, and then you put that down and you pick up a steak knife, and it's that much sharper. That's the best analogy I can use. The Edition 30 is good, but it's just not quite Megane good. So just open it up and see how it takes this road now. Back to back, was down here in the Edition 30 less than an hour ago. Oh, Yeah, the Megane's not got the pace of that Edition 30 on the straights, but it just gives you so much more confidence. I mean, I don't know if you can feel how quick it is through the corners. It's just devastating. The grip, this runs on Pilot Sport 4S's, it's got standard Brembo discs, and it's got WinMax W5 pads, which are fabulous both on road and on track. Knock it down there, just a little bit of heel toe, just feel the back end just squirming there. Again, just hard on the brakes. Oh, the grip it finds absolutely fabulous. It's much firmer. Absolutely it is. It's not as soft, it's not as compliant as the Edition 30, but it's one hell of a flipping drive, that. Oh, just you feel the LSD trying to pull pull all that power down on the brakes here. It's so much firmer than the Edition 30. And on roads like this, it's where you want. It does suffer sometimes just on some of the worst of the bumps, where the Edition 30 was that little bit more composed, but it's good on the brakes and turning sharp. You just feel you can play with it. You're so well supported by the yellow dot with cars popping back out into the sun here. Hard onto this little tricky right-hander. Oh, again, the road wants to throw you out. So what's my summary of today, driving both cars back to back? Well, the one thing that surprised me is it's actually showed negatives with both cars. The Edition 30, it's shown that the twin clutch DSG gearbox, although very effective in manual, that technology now in automatic doesn't work. It's too slow and it's too clumsy. And the exhaust, for all its pops and bangs and deep noise and throbbing noise that you get when you're on full attack, it can be a little bit tiresome after a while. The Megane, the interior is second division compared to something from Volkswagen. And the ride, the cup suspension, more track orientated or smooth A and B road, you can just get found out. Whereas the Mark V, with a more softer, slightly softer, more road orientated setup, is just as devastatingly quick. So picking a winner, it's almost like picking your favourite child. It's almost impossible. In the perfect world, I'd have the Edition 30 as my daily. Well, without the exhaust. I'd have to switch that out. And then the Megane for my weekend blasts up into Wales and on track. But if I could only have one, what would I buy? I think you know the answer. It's the one I own. The Renault Megane RS250 Cup takes it by a nose. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, as always, please thumbs up, subscribe, stay tuned. Other video next week. Thanks for watching, guys.